All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. We're joined today by, in my opinion, one of the most creative artists that hip hop has ever generated. We're very, very excited to have him here. So please, won't you welcome MF Doom.
Peace. Hola, how's everybody doing? Good to see y'all.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. How are you?
No doubt, brother. I'm good.
All right. We usually like to start, at least I like to start these things by playing a little bit of music. Last week we had a gentleman by the name of Young Guru here who does quite a bit of work with Jay-Z. He was talking about some of his favorite artists and some of his favorite productions and MCs. And he talked quite a bit about you. And he mentioned an album, Food. And I thought for those of us in the room who may not be as familiar as others with your work, that maybe we might hear a little bit of that. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
All right, so let's start out with that, and we can get into our conversation. Hold on just a second, folks.
Yeah, don't wait for her, man. Don't wait for her. I'll tell you what, man. Come with me now, and, I'll get you some lunch. I'll hook you up with something. I got a little bank, no problem.
I hear you. That's cool.
All right? It's cool.
Hey, can't you guys just wait here about a half hour, man?
Yo, I'll be back, man. I'm just gonna munch up a little bit, man. I'm pretty hungry. Yo, let him come back.
Here you will find food for your body, as well as comfort for your troubled mind. I'd really like some soup.
Bread and butter.
Of course, my friend. What happened to your hand? Nothing.
Oh, food at last.
How do you make it here? Regular storage procedure. The same as the other food. What other food? Fish. Protein. Grass. Go ahead.
No way.
Well, the cop got. Next morning, I went to the store to get some food.
Bread and butter.
They arrested me.
I'll save you.
Thank you.
Would you like a snack? Thanks for the drink.
Operation Doomsday complete. All units are close casualty, damage to estimates.
Enough. You talk of the people's rights. The people have only those rights which I choose to give them. And that's for their own good. Believe me. I do. They disappoint me. They must work faster.
But the prisoner.
Ah, yes. The young traitor who is trying to turn my people against me. Watch him. I have special plans for that one.
Beef rap can lead to getting teeth capped or even a reef from armed dudes on some grief crap. I suggest a change of diet. It can lead to high blood pressure if you're fried, or even a stroke, heart attack, heart disease. It ain't no starting back once arteries start to squeeze. Take the easy way out, phony. Until then, they know they wouldn't be talking that baloney in the bullpen. So disgusting, pardon self as I discuss this. They talk a wealth of shit and they ain't never seen the justice. Bust this like a cold milk from out the toilet. 2 batteries, some Brillo, and some foil, he'll boil it. You'd be better off in PC glued. And it's a feud, so don't be in no TV mood. Every week it's mystery meat, seaweed stewed.
Food. We need food.
He wears a mask just to cover the raw flesh. A rather ugly brother with flows that's gorgeous. Drop dead joints hit the whips like bird shit. They need it like a hole in their head or a third tit. Her bra smell, his cards say "Ah hell." Barred from all bars and kicked out the Carvel. Keep a cooker where the jar fell. And keep a cheap hooker that's off the hook like Marbell. Top bleeding, maybe fella took the loaded rod gear. Stop feeding babies colored sugar-coated large squares. The ard peer swears and God fears. Even when it's rotten, you've gotten through the hard years. I wrote this note around New Year's. Off a couple of shots and a few beers. But who cares? Enough about me, it's about the beats. Not about the streets and who food he about to eat. A rhyming cannibal who's dressed to kill and cynical. Whether is it animal, vegetable, or mineral. It's a miracle how he gets so lyrical and proceed to move the crowd like an old Negro spiritual. For a meal, do a commercial for Mellow Yellow. Tell them devils hell no, sell y'all own jello. We hollered krills, she swallowed pills. He followed flea, collared $3 bills and squilt for Halalville. If y'all a pill, dig the real. It's how the big ballers deal. Twirl a L after every meal.
Food.
What up? To all rappers, shut up with your shutting up and keep a shirt on, at least a button up. Yuck. As they rhymers are stripping males, out of work jerks since they shut down Chippendales. They chipping nails, doom, chipping scales, let alone the pre-orders that's counted off shipping sales. This one goes out to all my people, skipping bail, dipping jail, whipping tail and sipping ale. Like the doobie till it glow like a ruby. After which they couldn't find the villain like Scooby. He's in the lab on some old Buddha monk shit, overproof drunk shit, but who'da thunk it? Punk try and ask why ours be better. Could be the Iron Mask or the Cosby sweater. Yes, you, who's screwed by the dude on the CD, nude.
We need food.
Wait! Bring him to me!
Thanks.
So I guess just as a reference, can you talk a little bit about your process as far as when you make a song like this?
Yeah, that's a good example to that particular song. Haven't heard it in a while. Sounds good in here. What I usually do when I'm producing a record, I'll come up with the beat first. Then the beat will inspire the lyrics, you know what I'm saying? So in that particular example, it's really like I would say is like the main song. That song defines the record, you know what I'm saying? Title cut, if you will. And so I came up with that particular song first, and everything else spawned from there. Just typical joint. I heard the loop first, caught the loop, put the drums to it, polished it up with the 808. Just I don't really overdo it too much. I like to just keep it close to the original as possible. Leave something for the imagination, but enough to get the translation across, and then just write to it. Keep it simple. You know what I mean?
Now, was that something you sampled off of TV or video as music? Or
yeah, it came from an old VHS copy, like that my man sent me, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And what kind of equipment are you using on something like this? Or is equipment relevant to you?
Well, it really, what you use to record, really, I don't think is that important, but just for reference, I used MPC 2000 XL, I believe, at that time, for the sampling part. Then the recording was on it was pre-Pro Tools. It was a VS 1680 or 1880, I believe. Like I say, the medium that we record onto, it really. It's not that much of a big deal. It depends on the quality. Like, there's a way to keep the quality where you wouldn't be able to tell if it was 2-inch or, Pro Tools, or, sometimes you could record something onto Pro Tools and coming out of something that's an analog machine, and it'll sound like you might have put it to cassette first, So, I try to keep it as clean as possible, though, for what I was using. I mainly try to just capture the way you hear it. I try to capture that same sound, no matter what. Yeah.
And how long does it take to do the kind of audio collage? That sort of sets up the track. You got a few different things going on here at the intro of this song.
Yeah, it varies. It takes it's an ongoing process. Sometimes months of gathering pieces. Sometimes I leave it alone for a few months. It'll come back to my mind. I'll go back to it and find that one last piece that it needed, you know what I mean? And then when it's done, I'll know it's done by just, it'll just be full. But I could work on it forever. I'm still finding little samples and whatnot I can add to that. But I pretty much know when it's done, when it feels like a complete, a complete piece.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to follow a complete linear storyline, does it? Or, do you sit there and go, well, I need to find a voice that says this type of line, and then you'll put it in the back of your head and look for it later.
Yeah, that's pretty much as it progresses. That's how it ends up being. At first, it's it's kind of like if the piece is telling me the story. So I don't really know the story yet. I find like one or two things that reference a subject matter, a topic, you know what I'm saying? And then what happens is it will start telling me more and more. Then I'll join the conversation towards the end of the process. And I might need that one cherry on top of that one, like, that one word. You know, but I find it, once I start looking for one last word, that's when it starts getting tricky. I gotta like just, all right, it's done, you know.
Yeah, that's been a recurring sort of point of conversation this last week or so, I think, with folks here. Just knowing when you're done with something, you know, knowing when to walk away and leave something alone, you know. You know, I talked to you about 5 years ago, and I asked you what your reference points were to come up with these kinds of ideas. Can you recall, you know, how you got the idea to, what influenced you to start doing these types of things? As far as audio collages, I think it's a real unique part of what you do.
Yeah, the first time I heard something like that must have been like, man, what year was that? It was like 81 or something like that, maybe 82. You know, we used to listen to these old late night radio shows, like, you know, same thing like how you got Bobito and them cats used to have the late night radio shows. This is before though. This is like, yeah, 81. WHBI, there was a station out of New Jersey, I believe. And it was the Zulu Beat Show. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And they used to just spin breaks. You know what I'm saying? But they'll have voiceover pieces on top of it. But then you have like funky drummer, or you have like Apache rocking, you know, and you have something from like an old comedy joint to be on there, or like a Monty Python piece to be playing, you know, and I always found that real bugged out, you know what I'm saying? Because I ain't know where it was coming from. I never, you know, it's something that you had to, like, another layer of digging, you know what I'm saying? So not only did you have to find where the break was from, you got to figure out, okay, wait, what is that? Where they get that voice, you know? So you know, it always was interesting to me. So I always like to put a little something like that just to tribute that style, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we had a little bit of that plan before you walked in, just for kicks. Let me see if I can cue up something that has the essence of that. What we're talking about as an example.
Islam at the Roxy this Friday. And don't forget, you can't bet. As we continue, and don't you fret, this is what's happening next. A red alert tape special.
This is Zulu Beats from back in the day.
Moses went to the mountain, and God spoke unto him.
Moses, 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 this is the Lord thy God, commanding you to obey my law. Do you hear me? Yes, I hear you. Definitely hear you. What?
Moses went to the mountain, and God spoke unto him.
What? Nothing, I finished it. Oh, Moses, why have you chosen me? What did you have me do for you? I shall give you my laws to the people. Yes, Lord! I shall give you my laws, and you shall take them unto the people. Yes, Lord! Yes, Lord! Yes, Lord! Yes, Lord! I shall give his laws to thy people. Hear me! All say ye! The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments for all to obey. 10 commandments for all to obey.
So that gives you a little bit of an idea. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't remember that particular show, though. You got to give me a copy of that.
Yeah, okay. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
Okay.
So I guess, you know, this is so much a part of, you know, your performance, your persona, you know, not only sonically, but obviously, you know, physically, appearance-wise. You know, maybe there's some folks in here who don't fully understand. Can you explain a little bit about the different personas? There's MF Doom. There's also Victor Vaughn. There's also King Ghidra. Can you break that down a little bit for folks?
Yeah, well, the idea of having different characters to, different characters really just to get the storyline across. Coming from one particular character all the time makes to me the story boring. I get that mainly from like novels and that style of writing, you know what I mean, or movies, you know what I'm saying, where there's multiple characters to carry the storyline. It all might be written by one writer, you know what I mean, or directed by one director, but there's multiple characters in order to, you need it, you know what I'm saying? So the more the better with me. This way I could come from one point of view, another point of view. They might even disagree on certain things. I think a lot of times in hip hop especially, artists get kind of pigeonholed into being like if you're the guy, and that's it's kind of limiting in a way. So I look at it like I'm a writer, like the same way with the skits. Like have the record tell a story. You know what I'm saying? Like have little intervals where it's like cut scenes. You know what I'm saying? To where yeah, to me, everything just flows better when I got multiple characters to portray
Right.
the story.
Well, how would you define how would you define Doom's character then? What is Doom's sort of what's his perspective? What are his characteristics?
Yeah, the character Doom in particular, he's more like the old school, OG old timer villain. Like he's the typical villain that you have in any story where a lot of people misunderstand him. But he's always looked at as the bad guy, but he really got a heart of gold. You know what I'm saying? And he's for the children, and it's like a Robin Hood kind of character.
So he's a sympathetic villain.
Yeah, loved by the people, but then the powers that be may not really get along with how he get down. You know what I'm saying?
And what about Victor Vaughn, another character?
Yeah, Vic is similar, but he's younger. He's more like a younger, like say 18, 19-year-old young whippersnapper, think he know it all kind of, a lot of times he disagree with Doom, but still he looks up to Doom. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then what about King Ghidra?
Ghidra's an interesting character. You know what I mean? The whole direction of Ghidra is like, okay, he's not even from the Earth, you know what I'm saying? He's from outer space, and he channels the information to Doom in order for Doom to produce and whatnot. So Doom is he gets the message from Ghidra. So Ghidra is not even on Earth. He's more of a like an etheric being, you know what I'm saying?
Now, what physical form would Ghidra take then? Is he human, or is he human-like, or is he something else?
Ghidra's straight reptilian. Like he would be like a 300-foot, three-headed dragon, golden. Like it's from it's actually from the whole Toho Godzilla films. So he's it's just a villain theme. You know what I mean? The bad guy. Ghidra's that classic bad guy, and even in those films, like strong, real strong, where they had to jump him at the end in order to get him. They always end up somehow chasing him away, though, right? Because the whole hero thing, the hero got to win. But if you really look at it, Ghidra is really stronger than all of them. You know what I'm saying? But he's still that oddball. You know what I'm saying?
So why is Doom then more of your dominant persona, or maybe not dominant, but the one that is more on the forefront? Is it because you've said that Doom, in some respects, is doing Ghidra's work, right? He's more like a emissary or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So why Doom? Why is Doom in the forefront as opposed to these other characters?
Well, I think it's just for right now, and what I had a chance to let the public hear, and it just happened to end up that right now in this time frame, Doom happened to be the one that's in the forefront. But I mean, in the next 12 months, Ghidra might take the stage again, and Doom might fall back for another 2 years or so. You know what I mean? So it varies. It's an ongoing story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I guess obviously the mask is a huge part of Doom. Can you just, for those who are new to this, can you explain a little bit of why Doom wears the mask, why he's only seen with the mask?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the whole mask thing, really, all right, it's a time in hip hop where things, from my point of view, started going more to what things look like opposed to what things sound like. You know what I mean? Before, we ain't know what MCs look like until we went to the party and seen them rocking, you know what I'm saying? Or seen them, most of the time you see them rocking at a show before you even knew, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, before video, pre-video, so, you really was going off the sound of the record, straight skills. See, once it started getting more publicized and, it started being, hip-hop started being more of a money-making thing, then you get these corporate ideas where you want to put what it looks like to sell what it sounds like. But we dealing with music. So what I did was I said, all right, look, I'm going to come with the angle of it don't matter what I look like, it don't matter what the artist look like, it's more what the artist sound like. So the mask really represents the whole, like, to rebel against the trying to sell the product as a human being, you know what I mean? It's more of a sound. So, and at the same time, it's something different, you know what I'm saying? And it fits with the theme of the rebel, the villain, where, to him, he don't care about the fame and all that shit. That shit is of no consequence, you know what I mean? It's more of the message of what's being said. So I think it helps people focus more on what's being said. And it's still entertaining. It's still like the theater, and it has the appeal of, something that could be considered entertaining, but that message is still there. That, villain represents anybody. Anybody in here could wear the mask and be a villain. Male, female, any race, so-called race, you know what I mean? It's about where you coming from your heart, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the message? What you got to say? You know what I mean? So that's mainly why I chose to bring the mask into the fold.
Now, can you talk a little bit about just, you just mentioned your first sort of encounters with hip hop a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about, how you got into the music initially?
What do you mean, like, got into the music, hip hop in general? Like, just the. I think it was just from, you know what it was? My first experience with hip hop, hearing the sound that we call hip hop now, that could be considered hip hop, it would have to be just listening to the radio. At the time it was WVLS, like Frankie Crocker, but he'd be playing joints from like Grover Washington Jr. and it just got that feel. Certain records just got the feel. You hear the break, oh, good times, chic, good times. You hear it. Even if they's not being spun, you hear it in there, right? Then, at the time we was young, we was like, I think I was something like 10, 11 years old, something like that, And we used to, go down the block, and a lot of our peoples had older brothers. So this is back when it was 2 turntables and cats had afros, and we used to look up to them like, oh, go peeking down in the basement, like, oh, what they doing, But I would never be able to really get on the wheels until it must have been like a year after, and they finally invited us down to try to just get on. You know what I mean? So that's my first experience with what we would call hip hop now. Tramp, Otis Redding, spinning, just seeing how the record feel when you spin it back, how the fader feel when you hit it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Now this is in Long Beach or Freeport or
yeah, this is in
else?
Long Island, Freeport, Long Island. Is where it first started, I would say.
And KMD started out as a graffiti crew?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it was really like a crew, basically. Back then, we used to have crews that was just crews, you know what I mean? That would listen to music, maybe be artists in general, breakdancing, anything that was like, at the time, we didn't really categorize it like that. Anything that was fun. A crew that you would walk home from school with, and that's just the crew, and everybody in the crew might add one thing to it, or bring a different angle to it. So graffiti was like something that we just did, doodling and art in general, So yeah, it turned more into a graffiti crew first, and then the breakdancing came into it as that became more popular, And then music was always there, hip hop was always there as far as the music aspect. And then, you know, it just turned out the hip hop part, sound wise, music wise, got more popular, and it started to be, you know, something that I guess we more practiced that more, and it became to where we was making tapes and took it from there.
How did you meet MC Search?
Oh, Big Search. Well, I met Search at a talent show. It was like a outdoor. You know how they be having those like an outdoor daytime party though. It's not even like a night party. It's like a fair, like a gathering in the community where, you know, people be selling different items and whatnot. But they had a stage, you know, where you know, they had singers and anybody could just go up there and do their thing. You know, I guess there was some kind of structure to it. But he had a performance that he was doing up there, you know. So I'm out there just wandering around checking out stuff and whatnot. And I was with my other partner and we peeped this cat. You know, really we heard him first before we seen him. Right. You know what I'm saying? Somebody was rhyming. So anytime somebody's rhyming, it's interesting. So it's like, oh, who rhyming? So then we peeped this dude and he up there doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? By himself, solo. So I think I met him later on that day, like, you know, through my man. My man knew him already. Then, you know, he introduced me to him. So that's when we met.
And how long before you met Search initially, rather, to when he actually asked you to appear with him on a record? Because you guys have been doing your thing, you know, amongst yourselves, developing your sound, working on demos for fun and things like that, right?
Yeah, that time we was just, time was funny back then. It's interesting, huh? You know what I mean? But it seemed like it was all within the same year.
Yeah.
From summer and around again to the next summer, maybe like 11 months after.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well, the first record that you appeared on is with MC Search and P Nice for third bass. A hip-hop classic called The Gas Face. We hear a little bit of that?
Yeah, no doubt. I ain't heard that in a while.
All right, cool.
Hey, yo, man, my label mate, Don Newkirk, man. Step to him.
Thanks, Search. And now for the Prime Minister, Sinister Pete. Nice.
Kick him in the grill, Pete.
Gas, past tense made facially. Third Basal Express, KMD. 3 blind mics on site. Zev Lover gave it the first light. A grin shows a trick up a sleeve. What a tangled web they weave. Deceive is stupefied through fable. Say let's make a deal at the dinner table. Put you on tour, put your record on wax.
Trust me.
Sign your life on the X. You exit exor, but once you really get a box of Newports and Puma sweats.
Damn.
Text feeds and frowns upon Emis to give up gas face and drinks from a thermos. Sub Rock could at you with a clipper. Gas face given, I beg to differ.
Pete, that was real tough, man, but I gotta get serious now. Hey, yo, Don, step to him again.
Everybody, MC Search.
Black cat is bad luck. Bad guys wear black. Must have been a white guy who started all that.
Make the gas face.
For those little white lies, my expression to the mountain is blue eyes dip for my face and shake my skull cap. Dismiss the myth that evil is not black but opposite spectrum. This done by red man with horns on his head. Lay down the ill plan, got all his helpers. Said make it snappy. Tell all the people that their hair can't be nappy. Blind and blue-eyed, a dark skin half a G, a disease created by leprosy. Don't speak of bleach, bend them to right. Say it was night, way before the light. Put aside spooks, Search leaves a trace of setup correct with the effect of the gas face. Next up, Don.
A special appearance by KMD's Zev Love X.
A gas face can either be a smile or a smirk when appears a monkey wrench to work one's clockwork. Perking his brim to the rim of my cup. Don't tempt me, you're empty. So fill her up. Is I'm talking coffee or cocoa? Is you loco? Cash or credit for unleaded? That's a no-go. KMD and third base is this ace in the hole. I mean soul. So make the gas face. Damn it, looks can kill. You look like your host was a ghost from your grill, but still, what's the new fad to recollect to a passing phase? The back age to 80 decker for my label reads good. Street my habitat is no pick any card or no rabbit from a hat. Never a magician if I ever trick them. Oh shit. Another gas face victim.
There it is, yo, fellas, man. Why don't you step to the mic, man?
For 80 decker.
Hey, yo, good looking out, Don, man. Peace. Punji. Yo, who gets the gas face?
Victim of the gas face. face for DJ Sub Rock.
No gas face for KMD. Hammer, shut the fuck. Gas face, What do we think about Hammer?
GYP.
Get Yours Posse does not get the gas face. But PW Bolter gets a gas face.
Dante Ross gets the gas face.
Yo, stop dissing Dante on records, y'all. Elroy Cohen gets a gas face.
So what goes through your mind when you hear that now, after all this time?
Man, it's like a snapshot from back then. It was fun times back then. You know, you could tell like there's a lot of humor and a lot of spontaneity. You know, things got a lot. You know, nowadays I think things kind of got more serious with hip hop to where it's like it needs more of that. Wouldn't y'all agree? A little bit of humor, you know what I'm saying? It adds more of a, to me, that's how it was back then. And it was comfortable. It's not as tense, so everybody's not so hung up on who's the best. And, you know, it's more of a fun thing. So, yeah, man, you know, it's like a snapshot, like a, you know, old picture, you know what I'm saying?
But, you know, that said, you know, I think it's interesting because there is a lot of humor and a lot of looseness in a song like this. But yet, you know, you guys are actually saying some kind of profound stuff too, you know? And I think that was one of the trademarks, you know, more or less, or is one of the trademarks of what you do, especially so for like the KMD stuff, which you know, we'll get through in a second. But, you know, can you talk a little bit about Zev Love X? This was you before MF Doom. What's the relationship between Zev and Doom?
Well, really, I would say they both really exist simultaneously. So it's not like a change from one to the other one. It's more like one of them came more to the forefront now. You know what I mean? Like they just shifting positions. Like it still back to the whole character thing. You know, so Zev Love X still exists somewhere as that character. You just don't hear him too much right now. He's just playing the background out of the story, kind of like. So there's a lot of similarities, you know. But I made it to where I needed another way to get a different point across. You know what I'm saying? I think the Doom character is it's a little more serious, you know what I'm saying? More serious than Zev is. You know what I mean? It's a little more. A lot of people describe it as dark. I would say it's just a deeper hue, like a kind of more reflective. Like he thinks deeper into things. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, Doom is gone through things that Zev hadn't gone through yet, though. You know, as well, right? I mean, Doom's perspective is going to be different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, art imitates life kind of thing. So it's loosely based on, you know, experiences. Of course, everything is going to be based somewhat on experiences, but at the same time, like I say, Doom always existed. It's just when was his chance to grab the mic and actually make that debut? You know what I'm saying?
You know, the other thing with Zev and the KMD era, you know, not to stay on it too long, but also represented something, you know, that was very prevalent at the time, which is 5% Nation in hip hop at the time, and you know those things. You and Brand Nubian, you know, were dubbed yourselves the God Squad. You know, it was a very interesting time for all that stuff to be so prevalent. You know, any reflections on that now, looking back?
Well, yeah, you know. Really a lot of influence to put information and to get like different aspects of the culture into the music comes from influences like I would say like PE, and when they was, you know, we was heavily influenced by PE, BDP, you know, and they would speak on different things that you wouldn't really hear anywhere else besides maybe like, you know, old gathering, like went to a gathering with an uncle or something like that, or when you got the old timers sitting around just talking about back then. It's something that you would hear more from family members or like through passing of stories, like culturally, So, in order to keep that alive and to keep these messages out there for the youth, we put it in the records. It was kind of like unintentionally, kind of like just to be like PE, kind of like, like if, what he say, I remember that. What can I add on and drop a jewel about, or to be like how KRS used to come with different information that you wouldn't necessarily hear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But also adding this element of fun too, and playfulness.
Right.
I want to play a little bit of KMD. I'm actually going to play. Let's play something that's not one of the singles. Maybe the intro from the album because it kind of sets things up. Is that kind of cool? Is that cool with you?
Cool.
Okay. This is something from KMD's first album, Mr. Hood, which you can kind of tell may set the stage for some of the stuff that came after.
Let's enter this jewelry shop.
Come on, Mr. Vehicle Man, hook it up. 14K death bracelet. You can't beat it.
No, I cannot do that. This is not a pawn shop. This is Vehicle's jewelry. Ah, Mr. Hood, my favorite customer. What can I do for you today?
I would like to see some gold rings.
Ah, yes, we have these dookie fat gold rings, perfectly a masculine hands.
Some earrings from my wife.
How about these elephant-studded diamond earrings, perfect for the woman of your dream?
And a watch for my cousin.
Ah, yes, we have a Rolex.
That
now,
is
let's
a
see,
beautiful watch.
3,792.
No, actually, it's 2,336.
Many thanks for your help.
Trying to jerk people.
My name is Mr. Hood. What is your name?
Yeah, I'm Zelda X from KMD.
I am pleased to meet you.
Oh yeah, likewise. Yeah, how you doing anyway?
Perfectly well, thank you. And you?
Oh, I'm just chilling, you see, but I got one problem. I come in here to pawn this bracelet. See, because this rhyming for nickels business ain't making it. But I need a job. Where you work at? They hiring?
Follow this avenue.
Yeah?
Turn right at the corner.
Uh-huh.
Go to the left when you reach the square.
Yeah?
It is the house next to the theater.
Yeah, I know the line of work you're in. Yeah.
Would you care for a spoon?
No, I don't deal with
They are not too expensive.
As a matter of fact, this reminds me of the days of dwelling with those who kill off the weak for fancy clothes and hoes too. Not opposed to the picket fence dream, but both lie on the same side of the gate. It seems that it's all coming back to me now. Yeah, I figured it was about 2 summers ago. No joking, no one I'd win, cause it was Crackpot, Crackpot Jenkins. I first met Crackpot and like Head Start. Since then I knew he wasn't too head smart. And as I scribbled in art, he insisted on standing in the sandbox to collect unknowns amounts of pebbles and stones to throw rocks. This is Norris, he said, when suddenly in early physics lesson, 2 atoms can't occupy the same space at the same time. Acknowledged by the playground's Bully Wesson, who felt Pot's rock in Crackpot's face. Considering his aim, I warned he could hurt others with his game. Miss Kreisman warned the same, although he didn't care that he, cause in a decade and 1 year, he continued to throw rocks for a career. Paid him or paid as he pelt rocks felt by every brother in brown with whom he dealt. One more rock thrown, shoot, under the brown was a boy in a blue suit. Still a lot of rock thrown going on up the block, but a pocket full of pebbles what locked up Crackpot. Should've used his wrist for the cut like Subrock. Maybe then he'd avoided the common phony jackpot. Yeah, phony jackpot. Yo, man, you got much better things to do with your time than
Show
that.
me something better.
Something better, man. We built this place, man. We're the gods of the universe, kings and queens of the planet.
If you or I could see this individual, we might call him an impractical dreamer or a crackpot.
No, I'm not.
Would you
crackpot.
have seen the scientific, intellectual, creative genius in a small, ragged Negro boy?
Oh, no. You done set it off.
Thanks. That's a fun record. Man. That's a fun record.
So, if anybody has heard this album, it's this Mr. Hood character is present through every skit. How can you talk a little bit about how this was all constructed? Because obviously this is the same source, it's the same voice from Mr. Hood, right? Where'd you get this from? If you can talk about that, and how did it come together?
Yeah, ironically, the record is a language record, right? It was a Spanish language record. That, when you travel to different countries, they have records where, and it was on vinyl where they'll repeat a phrase and then say it in the other language. But it was Spanish. It's funny that I'm here now, right? But it was from maybe like that record was an old record. It was like recorded in maybe the '60s, early '60s, right? And I'm listening to the joint, I'm listening to the record. I'm noticing the phrases that he's saying. He's just saying some joints that's just funny phrases in general, Like, why would you even want to translate that? Like, I guess, at that time it was the way that the people spoke in like a slightly different way. So it was always funny to me listening to it. I just listened to the whole record, by itself with the Spanish translation on it. But then I noticed, you can even mix match words. Like, all right, edit there and kind of cut and paste different phrases in between it. So it started to be where I could see a storyline evolving out of it. Something that matched what was going on in the current days. You know what I mean? What's going on in the street. But based around his character, he's like a stiff, like he sounds like real, like a corny old dude, but he's like a real thug, like hood dude. You know what I mean? So the whole record was based around us kind of schooling him from being, drug dealer type, just dropping little jewels on him and schooling him, bringing him into the crew kind of thing. And by the end of the record, we get him down. He gets it through his skull. He starts being more, like aware of what's going on, more conscious towards the end of the record. Right. Yeah.
It's funny because even just using that, Spanish instructional record, it generates this like vibe of inclusion. You know what I mean? That I thought was real unique to this record and to the group. Skipping to the next record, even though there are songs off of this album that were hits, this album was very well regarded, spawned a few hits, Peach Fuzz and Who Me, and things like that are in the same spirit. The next record you guys did is entitled Black Bastards. Mm-hmm. This was recorded a couple years later. This album, of course, for those who know, actually was not released when it was supposed to be released. But it has a different vibe that I think is really interesting. It's got a certain amount of, I don't want to say, a little more aggression in it musically, even though it still maintains a playful side of it. And I liken it in a lot of ways. I don't know if anybody else has said this to you, but all the groups that came out in this era, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubian, groups like this, came out with very, very acclaimed debuts. And a lot of them came back with a little bit more jaded sounding records, but yet classic records. And I feel this is one that is very much in the same league with those records, even though it doesn't get talked about the same way. I wonder what your perspective on it is.
Yeah, well, all right. The second record really comes out of a lot of the experiences that we went through after the first record, you know what I mean? And that was our debut record, of course, Mr. Hood, where we were kind of like still wet behind the ears, so to say, in the game. Like, we, business-wise, there's a lot of things we didn't know, and there's a lot of growing up you do. I think I was 18, 19 when I did the first record. So that's an age where, it's real formative years where you're growing into manhood and whatnot. And it's like, there's a lot of things about society in general that you find out and you come to grips with. So the next record was maybe 2 or 3 years after that. So all those new things that we were learning and, a lot of the awareness that came out of being in the business went into that record.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think that's where you get a lot of the, the little edge on it. It's like almost like a little bit of bitterness, I would say, in a way, like kind of like, it's like a talk shitty kind of record, kind of like, yeah, well, whatever. Like to the industry, kind of like a little bit like, yeah, well, fuck y'all, we still gonna do our thing for me,
I want to play a little bit of the intro to this album, if that's cool. Garbage Day, number 3.
We did one. We're gonna do our nigga another one. It sounds dope though, but in the background with like little shit that you can't hear.
Where the hell's my gold? Where's my gold? Damn, Canal Street.
I haven't seen you two in years. Kind of a late visit. I was getting ready for the hay. Something to wake you up.
It's not the 3 of us anymore, is it?
M.O. No.
Come on, Jump. Come on. Hey, you guys should let the cops handle it. If you fight these guys, you're gonna end up in jail.
You can't get away with that. Who says I can't? Me, copper.
He just got left. I'm gonna kick his ass.
Yo, what up, Black? What's going on, man? Name's Jamal. Why you bugging, man? 'Cause I'm white? That motherfucker must think he's a god.
Sick bastard. The song's over, nigga. When you carry a gun, you gotta have one thing on your mind. Either I'm gonna kill someone, or someone's gonna kill me.
Now where's my goddamn bullet? You got my name on it, you black bastard!
Hey, this doesn't make sense. All right, come on, Black. What are you hiding? This?
The dick.
Oh, always Tom. All right, Blackie, you win. You caused us much damage.
Everybody, free! You nigger.
Many wanted to help. Nobody could.
Mr. Run all day. Yeah, Mr. Run all day.
That boy's a pussy. Why is he running? He can't see me. Take that X you have off.
Because who she is, how the fuck should I know? I don't know. She might use the pussy's name if you know what to do with it.
Bitch ass nigga.
You am a bitch. Mr. Run all day. Cops, killers, and niggers to boot. Hold it.
Thanks, yo. Man, brings back a lot of memories.
It's a little more
That
intense, yeah.
that joint. Like you can see, it's in the same vein with the voices, but it's just a little more edgy there, right? A lot of that influence also came from the black exploitation films. You know, that's what the time when we just bumped into those. You know, and my brother Sub Rock, God bless, he really brought a lot of this material to me. Like, yo, this movie is crazy. You know, it was Sweetback's badass song. That particular film. Yeah, Melvin Van Peebles joint. He brought that, and that kind of set the tone for this record. You know, subtly, but that was kind of the whole black exploitation thing, and then it spun into, you know, the whole record, Black Bastards.
Right. And the theme of a lot of those movies is revenge. It's like somebody gets wronged, and then they think that they're left for dead, and then they come back and, you know, they seek revenge.
Yeah, and they end up being, in those films, the underdog or whoever was the guy who you probably didn't normally make it in Hollywood or didn't make it in those movies end up being the hero. So it was cool to see, for a change, you know, those type of themed films, you know what I'm saying? And the time when they were filmed and the texture of the sound was real memorable, you know what I mean?
And there's also like a poetry record that is used throughout this album too, from one of the last poets.
Yeah, that's right.
The Blue Gorilla.
Yeah, the Blue Gorilla, Gillen Kane. It's a real interesting record, yeah.
Now, let me just play one short piece of the single from this, because we want to get through this part. But, you know, this is your radio single, and this is how it starts.
He was a nigga yesterday. He's a nigga today. And he's gonna be a nigga tomorrow.
What a nigga know. Yo, a nigga know the game.
What a nigga name, Black.
X like the flick slick.
What a nigga click V.
The core CM crew.
What a nigga do.
Let the monkey out the zoo is on my back now. Repeat, I'm the X. A biggie, not a bigot. Past that 40 man, I'm tempted to swig. Save shit for after the gig, you dig. Buds like figs, pick out sticks and twigs like some pick out wigs. I chicks like a shank. Self love X, I be sex like swank. So crank up the cups and get some ups. Or the ziggy. I got the guts to rock the mic and grab my nigga. 1, 2, sound off chumsy. Finna flip the script like round off summy. Yummy to the tooth, bitter to the tummy. Help keeps that monkey shit constipated for me. Jimmy Rummy. Now where my money at, fat? Living like that Ziggy from the Funnies cat, yeah. We both be in the papers. Me from pulling capers with a gat, it's like that. Repeat, what a nigga know. Your host, smoking. Nothing but the raw spot. What a nigga got. Busy is I wanna get popped, so I get more. Stick 'em up a nigga box, cause I get raw. Lots of many, plenty of leeway. So Brock, aka King Gully's way. Cock-a-doodle do wake the hell up, y'all. Like a quadruple fat goose, I swell up, y'all. See your driver that leaks is soggy. I'll bungee jump, kick your butt like Miyagi. No curls, no braids, but still wool. With my ill style, man, G's I pull. I lay lower than a limbo stick. Follow me quick, or leave alone a demo stick. Can you dig it? I roll rugged. Clock me dumb, me my nigga will fly that nugget to the drum, y'all. Stun like court, y'all. I'll shadow box that ass and teleport, y'all. Yes, y'all.
Thanks. Yeah, good thanks.
So that's you and Sub Rock, your brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my brother, my partner, Sub. Yeah, yeah, that record is a fun record again, you know. But that's when he started coming more into the vocal part. You know what I mean? Sub was nice. Like, you know, he brought my skills up. You know what I mean? He started doing styles. I'm like, Dad, kid, you know, it's always good when you got a partner to kind of reflect off. You know, it brings more out of the duet, or out of the group when, you know, you got a good partner like that.
So you guys are sharing production and vocal duties at this point?
Yeah, at that point, yeah, it took a lot of weight off me, you know, 'cause at this point on this record, the third member of the group, Onyx, who was on the first record, he kind of left the group at this point. So the vocals was kind of on me, but then he just took the play like, bow, I'm ready, caught wreck.
This record, like I said, didn't come out when it was supposed to come out in 93, 94. There was a controversy that those who follow hip-hop probably are familiar with that caused this album not to come out. What do you want to say in retrospect of all that, if anything?
Well, I don't know. The controversy, there was a couple of different things that was going on, and some of the things was behind the scenes, some of the things was more upfront, you know, but it all kind of culminated into the agreement that we had with the label to be severed, you know. It was kind of mutually agreed, you know what I mean, that we just, you know, it was kind of conflict of interest and like creative differences kind of thing, you know. So then that's really what led to, you know, the record being shelved, as they say, or what have you. But, you know, to me, it's no big deal. It's like a process that, you know, it happens in the game where, you know, relationships come to a point where you split and then you do something else. You know, everybody grows and, you know, so it's that kind of thing. We just got too big and too outspoken for the situation. You know?
Yeah, because the original artwork to this, and it's been reissued since with the original artwork, but it's the character, the symbol KMD, which is the quote-unquote Sambo
character.
The
Sambo face, you know, drawn out, but then with the no sign, like the no smoking or no...
Right.
You know...
With the slash, yeah.
Yeah, which will represent the ending of any stereotype or any kind of, you know, any type of false representation of anything, really, of any race or any people or anything that's falsely represented. End of that. That was the logo, you know. And then we took it a step further with the Black Bastard cover, and made it to okay. Now we got this character on a hangman's noose, so we're hanging the character, which represents the same thing. It's the ending or the deading of that stereotype. You know what I mean? At the same time, it represents like the hangman game, like where letters are missing out of so it's like a puzzle, you know what I mean? So the whole record's like a puzzle, but at the same time still with the message of no more stereotypes, you know what I'm saying? So I guess it was a little bit maybe too, I don't even know. I can't even look at it from their point of view to think what the reason was why they couldn't handle it.
It seems like it was misinterpreted, or whoever decided they were offended by it, or it was too controversial, misinterpreted the meaning of all that.
Yeah, but then you know what? At the same time, we had records out on the same label, like Cop Killer, Ice-T shit, and like there was a lot of controversial records at that time. I think it was more like, okay, is this is this product marketable? Can we sell this? You know what I mean? Because if they found a way to sell it, it wouldn't have been a problem. There was even some rock groups on there. I forget the name of the rock group. They had something the same year. They had a cover with like a cross with like a Jesus Christ with a goat head, and was real bugged out that maybe some people might see as offensive, or it had blood, all kind of looking crazy. But you know, they selling millions of records at the time, so it wasn't as offensive as So like I say, it's a lot of behind the scenes things that go on with this thing. They didn't have a front story that as the main story, as in everything they do. And even nowadays, there's always a front story, but there's also a backstory, the real story. You know what I mean? Happens a lot in politics. It happens a lot in, in how this world is run in general. These, when anytime there's money involved and a lot of, it tends to be that way. You know what I'm saying?
So KMD gets dropped from Elektra. This album doesn't come out, and then, something obviously even more tragic happens. Your brother passes away. How did you cope with that? What got you through this time in your life?
Yeah, actually, how it happened was we almost finished. We was just about done with the record, and then the accident happened. You know what I'm saying? Where Sub lost his life and whatnot. God bless. And then I finished the record. I still went ahead and finished the record despite, because there only was a little bit more to do. So, just for I'm going to finish it. One of us is going to finish it anyway. If it happened to me, he would have finished it. You know what I'm saying? But then that's when they decided to sever the agreement with us. You know what I'm saying? Like in that order kind of thing. So, a lot of things are going on at that time, So the way I dealt with it, I just kept it moving. You know what I mean? At the time, it just seemed like another thing, another obstacle to kind of like maneuver around. Or, I had my mother and everybody. I had to like kind of be the one to be strong at the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm the oldest out of all of us. He's my brother, younger than me, one younger. So I had to kind of like just take the reins at that point. I couldn't really think about it too much, especially with the whole thing with the deal being different. Had to kind of like regroup and figure things out. So the way I dealt with it, just like how we deal with it, like keep it moving. You know what I mean?
You wound up resurfacing, but a few years later, with some singles with your friend Bobito on his label. What else were you were trying to keep it moving? You were trying to maintain, obviously, during that time, that interim. But yes, just on the day to day, what was life like during those years for you?
It's almost like how everything was before we started getting into the whole record. Professionally into the game, like back to being a civilian. So to say, where you no longer you don't have a deal, so it's like you gotta figure out ways to make ends meet. But still doing music. You know what I'm saying? Just like before we had the deal, so it wasn't like unfamiliar. You know what I mean? Music is really what, now that I think back to it, music and having equipment and always just finding a place that you could just play your music and do your thing, whether it's my aunt's basement or, wherever I could get something plugged in at and plugged into, at the time it was the FZ1 and the FZ10 was the rack mount version. A sample made by Casio. So we had that, we still had our equipment, so find a way to plug it in and continue on. So now that I think about it, music was this thing that really kept us and kept me going through the whole thing. And by continuing to just do the craft, it caught the ear of Bobito, you know what I'm saying? But he's always been there as like this my partner, one of my good friends from back when we first signed with Elektra. I met him through Pete and Serge, actually. He was working at Def Jam at the time. So me and Bob was always cool, so he noticed I was still doing music. I'll play some tapes for him, go kick it with him here and there. And he was just starting his label up, or had the idea of this label that he was going to start, So he asked me to do a couple of joints if he could put out a couple of joints, and that's what kind of started it. That respawned the whole thing. But I think I would have still been doing it even now if I never had a chance to come out professionally. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So at this time, did you come up on your own, re-emerging as MF Doom, or is it something you discussed with anybody at that point? Because you was Evlov X with KMD before these singles with Bobito circa 1997 for his
Right.
independent label Fondle 'Em.
Yeah, see, right after we finished the album Black Bastards, even while we was working on Black Bastards, me and Sub were both gonna do solo records respectively. So I was gonna do the Doom thing since back then, and he was gonna come out with his joint as another character, you know. And really, I just continued on with the ideas I had in my head, and I developed the Doom character and developed the songs and more of the concept around the character, and until it just culminated to enough that when Bob heard it, he got it. You know what I mean? And the style was different. I came with a different lyrical style, I try to really make it distinctly different from the Zevil X character, like how you would have the characters in the book, like that different, different strategy, Like I say, it's about what it sounds like more than what it looks like. A lot of the experiences in KMD and with that's when people doing videos and everything was about. So we got a taste of that and how it could backfire on you. You know what I mean? So it kind of made me go back to the lab and regroup. That's where I really developed a lot of the Doom character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and as we've seen, musically, all this stuff, is really related just from listening to the early stuff, the KMD stuff, to what you were doing later. Let's hear a little bit from the stuff from Fondle 'Em, your early work for them.
Motherfucking villain, goddammit. About to get this million stacked of shit. Yo, this dip try to tell him, ooh, you're like the sun. Chasing all of the rain away. When you come around, you bring brighter days. She told me you're the perfect one. Microphone check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. He told her I will rock this microphone. Always. I hold the mic. Like niggas hold their girls tight, but I ain't after her. Probably your Acura pearl white, the hook or nah. And many times I done hit it. Just be specific, more times than dimes in the Brisnick. When you broke north, I crashed the barbecue like Riddick at the Garden True. That's the garden me, pardon you. Cheapers, I was told back. The whole gang access to my beeper. Call back my secretary gatekeeper. Like I ain't peeper. I said, darling, you was stupid though. You know the super villain. Home. I had this style ever since I was a child. I got this other style, I ain't flipping a wow. It goes pure scientific intelligence with 1 point of relevance. MCs whose styles need elements. And once the smoke clear telements, the super motherfucking villain nigga came through raw like the elements. On 99 plus one of them. And with a flow to pull a fraud nigga foul from out in front of him. When we with y'all, we had tons of fun. Me and my duns and them. Actual true and living sons of them. Dead planets and guard jewels. Throwing divine rules to come through, we will overcharge yous. Ooh, and won't feel remorse for shit. Except for one time, once I had took my fronts out and lost some shit. Scientific gone berserk like red alert. I really want to pick up was nerd for cheddar dirt. The funniest experiments is where I went, obviously dead bent. And spent every red cent to rule you. And still drop more jewels than schools do. Or even TV news that's designed to fool you. Yeah, you who hear the most grimy suggestions from brothers with fly names and ID questions. That's a sequel like Victoria Teddy says that's edible. None's not ready yet for the incredible team of MCs who broke off fakes who thought they was slaughterproof. Stomping through like North Lake waterproof. Tat tat at the end of that. At the hit the bar where baby girl bartender at. I told her more wine mingling with no single mentions of. Stay tuned for more spine tingling adventures of.
Appreciate it. Thanks, yo. God.
So these singles, Operation Doomsday, considered one of the, essential albums from this sort of independent hip hop movement in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. The thing that I always observed from some of your singles, some of your work from this period is, this is when hip hop really got super divided in terms of where your loyalties were, at least from a listener's perspective. It's like if you were snapping your fingers in the club listening to Bad Boy records, you were supposedly representing one sensibility, and if you were had a backpack on and you were bobbing your head like this, and in a cipher or whatnot, you were representing something different. Yet, the thing that's always been interesting to me is when I hear some of these singles and some of these songs you put together, you're actually using some of these same reference points. You're just flipping it in a different way. Some of your songs are referencing Atlantic Star or James Ingram or Steely Dan or things that are would not be out of place being used in these other music that's being made that's more popular. Yet you're using it in a different way. I just wonder what your opinion is of me putting that idea out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that differs is the recording techniques and recording styles. Like that's what would be making it. I think that's where the line is. Like they grew up probably listening to the same things we grew up listening to, right? Except their production methods and I guess the direction they wanted to go in was more of a polished, you know. I would say, I don't want to speak for them and whatnot, but it's like a polished sound. You can tell by how it sounds. It's like almost aiming for a certain a certain goal, like as far as sonically, and selling records wise too, to make it a more you know pretty product. You know what I'm saying? Where we might be using the same sources, the same references, but I'm keeping it to where it's like, yo, it's vinyl. That shit might have dust on it. It might have crackles in it. I can't get the CD, so I'm gonna still make the beat. I'm gonna use the one I first made. I'm gonna use the first set of vocals. I had a plug-in mic that wasn't maybe the best mic, but that's how I did the vocals, and that's how I'm keeping it rugged. You know what I'm saying? So, and we still use the same methods to this day. Like however you do it, that's how you do it. It's done. Bow. You know what I'm saying? So. I think a lot of that, and it's an attitude too, that kind of that became part of the formula and methodical way we did joints. It still exists, you know what I'm saying?
This also set off a period for you just being super, super prolific. I mean, after disappearing for a while. Maybe not right after Operation Doomsday, but definitely a few years after that. You were, there was a Doom record that was coming out every week on maybe 10 different labels. Was that part of the whole thing? What was your approach? What was your mentality going into that era of things?
Yeah, I remember that time. It was like more of a it was more out of necessity at the time, and out of the popularity. All right, see, like I say, we learned a lot from the first run going through the game and having, as far as the business side, having too many hands in the pot, and not having as much freedom as you could have. But once you learn it, that's when you make the updates, you know what I'm saying? So one of the things that we did was make sure we had control over the entities that we wrote as a control over the business, and not to where sign a deal where you could only make records for one company, do that out, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole independent movement going on, so you can make a deal with somebody like how I did with Bobito. Like he's man, make a deal, do a one-off record, but it's not confining where, all right, your next record got to be with me. It's not all like corporate like that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was better for both of us like that. You know what I'm saying? We both weren't tied down to unnecessarily, having to be, just confined like that. So what it freed up was it made it possible to solicit work to other people. You know what I'm saying? So as much work as you can do, now I have the freedom to put it out. You know what I mean? So with the success of the Fondlem stuff, other cats will want me to do maybe a verse here or do a record for them. So and many people was coming to me, like, I'm like, all right, yo, I'll do it. I had to get back up and get this bread. You know what I'm saying? So I had a family at the time, a son and whatnot. So I had to make sure he was fed and everything was straight. So this is where hip hop started being back like a business where I could sustain and take care of my family. So any business that would come to us, we would take it and do it. So in the outside, it would seem like we're doing a lot of records on purpose, maybe just to come out and have a lot of records out, which really wasn't the goal. It was more like as many people that needed a record, I would just do the record whether or not they put it out or not. You know what I'm saying? But I guess on the outside, it looked like I was just doing a lot of records, which is cool though. It worked both ways, good.
Were you ever concerned about quality control during this time? Did you ever feel overextended from doing all this stuff?
Nah, not at all. Like I say, I would be doing the records anyway. Like so, whether I just did them and kept them on my shelf and nobody ever heard them, or somebody will come and want to put it out. It's all. See, I got the formula from Bob, Bobito. I call him Bob. You know, my man Bob, right? We call him Wooden Tooth Bob, right? Right. So
Wait a second, I heard you and MF Grimm once. Bob told me once that you guys sent him a sympathy card.
Yeah.
Can you tell him what the sympathy card was? This is diversion. Sorry.
Oh, I forget exactly what it was. It was more Grimm idea.
Okay.
I just signed it. It was retarded. It had something to do with the wooden tooth joke, though.
No, Bob said it was a sympathy card he got in the mail. And he's like, wow, nobody died recently. What is this? And he opened up and said, oh, we're sorry for your loss, your hairline loss.
Oh, that's right.
And you guys
Right.
signed it.
Yeah. It was Grimm idea. I signed it. It was real funny. But yeah, man.
I'm sorry. Anyways, go ahead. You're saying you got the idea from Bob.
Yeah, I got the idea from Bob about, yo, if we just put the record out, no picture cover, nothing, the people, the DJs will buy a white label record and just play it. So once the DJs play that, people hear it. Then they either like it or they don't like it. So if they do like it, they got to go ask the DJ, yo, what is that? Or they try to go look and see what the label is, or they'll go looking for the record opposed to trying to force feed somebody a record like, yo, we got this new record out, and then they listen to it. It's like we did it the opposite way, where it's up to the people what they like. So this way, it brings people come to you for looking for something that they're already feeling. So this way, it cuts a lot of the. You don't get the bullshit records like that. You get quality records. You know what I mean? So if I'm doing a bunch of records, people know where to come to get the quality that they're looking for. So they'll tend to come. You got anything else? Or do you got? So this way, it's how we started putting out a lot of records like that. So I feel like it's not really. It's not really like an overextended thing. It's more of a niche thing. It's like certain people, like certain things. It might be thrift store clothes, you know what I'm saying? That's their style. So they'll go to the thrift store to get that instead of going to Macy's to get whatever's supposed to be the high end shit. It's a certain quality that people look for, that we provide that same quality.
How did you and Madlib decide to work together?
Yeah, I got a call one day from it was from Peanut Butter Wolf up there at Stone Store. Wolf was a good friend of mine. Big up Wolf. And he mentioned this cat Madlib. I wasn't familiar with his work at the time. But I guess he heard some of my stuff and he was reaching out to me so that we could do a record together, like, and want to give me some beats and whatnot. So at the time, it was the same time when I was doing records for a lot of different companies and whatnot. So, they offered to fly me out to LA, so it sounded like a good thing. Flew out there. Met these cats, cool, you know what I'm saying? Cats is cool from day one, you know what I'm saying? I got along with these dudes, just good-spirited, good-hearted people, and real record diggers, like, you know what I'm saying, beat maker, had the same kind, we had the same kind of vision and how we did records, the same, it's real similar, still unique though, he had his unique style, so that's really how it started. He reached out. Ever since then, that's been my man. You know what I mean?
They were all living in a house together at the time. Is that right? With the studio and the bomb shelter in the basement?
Yeah. They had a little mini mansion up on the hill. It was a pretty big crib, though. It was a lot of space in there, overlooking the hills. So it was a good place to work at. You know what I'm saying? Real quiet up there.
So what was a typical day like with you and Madlib trying to put this album together?
A typical day,
Or were there typical days?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I could put it in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? It was more like, okay, I'm trying to finish the record so I get back home. You know, I'm staying in LA. I'm trying to get back to my children and whatnot. So I'm working as fast as I possibly can without sacrificing the quality. You know, so but he's working too like that. Like I would hardly see him. We're in the same house, but he's always in the bomb shelter, and I'm always up on the deck writing, right? And then he'll give me another CD. I get the CD, and I'm writing. You know what I'm saying? And then he's back in the bomb shelter, so I would hardly speak to him. Like we hardly ever, you know, we might stop and he'll burn one and we'll listen to the beat and then that's it. And then the next 2 days I probably won't see him. But then I was getting mad work done, knocking it out, and um and then at the end of the like week, we'll listen to the shit after the end of the week and be like, all right, you know, I might let them know, yo, here's the angle I'm thinking about. All I need is a verse and chorus on this one and it's done. And then that's it. You know what I'm saying? We hardly spoke really. It's more through like telepathy and like we spoke really through the music. Like he'll hear the joint and that's like my conversation with him. Then I'll hear a beat and that's like what he's saying to me. You know what I mean? Like it's real bug. It's still to this day that's how we do it.
Okay, okay. Let's hear a little bit of something from Madvillain, which is MF Doom and Madlib.
It never really mattered too much to me. And I was just too damn old to MC. All that really matters is if your rhymes was ill. Girl, that's all that really mattered to me. Oh, baby.
Looks like it's going to be a great day today to get some fresh air like a stray on a straightaway. Hey you, got a light? Nah, a Bud Light. Early in the morning, face crud from like a mud fight. Looky here, it's just the way the cookie tear. Prepare to get hurt and mangled like Kurt Angle, rookie year. The rocket scientist with the pocket wine list. Some even say he might need some psychiatrist. Doom, are you pondering what I'm pondering? Yes, but why would the darn thing be wandering? She's like a foundling, barely worth fondling. My posse's on Broadway like Mama, I want to sing. Mad plays the bass like the race card. Villain on the case to break shards and leave a face scarred. Groovy dude, not to prove to be rude, but this stuff is like what you might put on movie food. What is jalapenos? Get it like a whooping when you holler at your seniors. Dollar, he could overhear the hashish fiender. He just came from over there, the grass is greener. Last wish, I wish I had 2 more wishes. And I wish they fixed the door to the Matrix's mad glitches. Spit so many verses, sometime my jaw twitches. One thing this party could use is more blues. Put yourself in your own shoes and stay away from all the pairs of busted Timbs he don't use. He only keep them to decorate. If you wanna peep him, select a date and bring a deep check like checkmate. I kid you not, on the dotted line sign. Ever since a minor, kids consider him some kind of Einstein on a diamond mine grind. She was dumb fine, but not quite the type that you might wanna wine and dine. Couldn't find a pen, had to think of a new trick. This one he wrote in cold blood with a toothpick. On second thought, it's too thick. His assistant said, Doom, you sick? He said, true through acoustics. Psycho, his flow is drowned in Lowry seasoning. With micro power, he's sound and right reasoning. It's easy as pie, 3.14. One more, one fall smooth, and they done for.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, yo. Appreciate it.
I want to ask you a little about, you always describe yourself as a writer. Even though you're an MC or producer, you've also said, I'm a writer, you know, and the craft of what you do. I think, you know, it's easy to get lost amongst, you know, the records and the personality of the records and the mask and everything else. You know, this craft of wordplay, of putting words together in an interesting way. Maybe using this song as an example. You know, what, this song, for instance, you say things like, groovy dude, not to prove or be rude, but this stuff is like what you might put on movie food. So, obviously it rhymes, as most rap does, but, you know, how do you decide, like, when to say something by not saying something? If you know what I mean. You could say movie food.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But something you put on movie food, somebody, in a past era would say butter or whatever. It's a reference to something that's just a little bit off, one step to the left, maybe two. And I wonder if you might address that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as I'm writing it, I'm also thinking of it from a listener point of view. So I try to make it to where I can catch myself off guard. Like you wanna keep the story interesting. Like soon as somebody thinks they know what you're gonna say, that's part of the essence of rhyming. Is to keep everybody kind of off guard a little. So I take that and I stretch it with these different things. Like leave one word blank. Knowing that the listener is following along and will fill in that blank, like how I'm following along and will fill in the blank, but always put the word that you would least expect, or what they think might be there is not there, but it still makes sense in another way. It keeps the story interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like where you can match wits with the, it's almost like keeping a good conversation with the listener, where you can match wits with them. It makes it more fun to me. So I try to keep it as entertaining for somebody else who will be listening to it down the line, even, and like it really puts a sense of longevity to the record as well, to where you never know what the dude's gonna say, so you want to hear it again and again, and then once you do get it, you want to pass it on to a friend. It's like a good book, you know what I'm saying? So and again, that's why I phrase it as a writer. Like I look at this, it means written. I got the notebooks to prove it. Man, it's a lot of writing, like more writing I thought that I'll ever be doing. You know what I'm saying? So, and it takes thought and a lot of it's not just put together loosely, like a lot of, you got novels that are put together loosely, and even got like tabloids opposed to like credible newspapers. You know what I mean? So in the same way, you got different hip hop, like in the sense of rhyming. That's some of it is just fun, like here and there thrown together, not as crafty, I would say. And then you got the real crafty good stuff. So I try to make that quality good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where you're gonna be like, wow, it's a classic book. You know what I'm saying? Well written. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And you did a whole album that we mentioned earlier, Food. Everything is a food title. Every subject is on the surface referencing food.
Right.
But then songs are not necessarily about food. They might be about something else.
Double entendres, yeah. It's all in there. You know what I mean?
I want to make sure we get time for questions. So open it up in a second. Around 2006 to the last album you did, there were moments when there was a certain amount of unpredictability. You were very prolific, but then there was also some inactivity. What was going on in that time?
I think it's more like, I was still doing work, but I kind of laid off it a little bit, just to concentrate on family and other children on the way, and I just kind of took some time off really for family, and just to get away from it for a second. It started being like where I don't necessarily want to do one thing for too long. It gets to where it gets boring and kind of overwhelming, and you want to take a step back and just reflect. So it was really like that kind of thing. I didn't think it was that noticeable from the outside though. But I figured it was enough work out there for people to still absorb, and and it comes to a point where I need to get more information. As I study and I got to do some to give the information I need information. So I would do things like just leave it alone for a second and just observe the world, and so I'll have more things to say. I think a lot of times people expect us to just be constantly talking. I'm the kind of cat, I'll lay back, you know what I mean? The conversation ain't always about what I gotta say, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's time to listen. Yeah. So that was more like the listening time, you know what I mean?
I want to open things up for questions for folks, even though there's a few more things to cover, just to kind of make sure everybody has a chance. Can we get a microphone?
I have a really obvious question for you.
All right.
When can we expect the next Madvillain album?
Good question. Nah, well, it's almost done. I'll say that.
Okay.
But it's been almost done now for maybe like 2 years,
Yeah.
2, 3 years. I can't say when to expect it, but I'll be finished soon. I'll be finished by January, I say, with my part. But then it's still Madlib has to put his little touches on it. So it's still unpredictable, but it'll be soon. It'll be soon.
Okay, thanks.
Hiya. First and foremost, I just want to say that, in my opinion, Doomsday and Madvillain are two of the greatest hip hop records ever made.
Appreciate it, man.
Listen to them all my life. But I could probably ask you a million questions. One thing I've always wanted to know was on Madvillain. I always found I with Stacey Epps a really interesting track because obviously 95% of the record is, yourself and Madlib corresponding to each other. But then I always kind of wondered the point of the introduction of that track. Was it to break up the record, give people a breather? Or was it just how did that track come along to step to the record?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, the way I view it, I make records based on the hip hop that we used to listen to. You see, so this would be like radio shows and like things like that. And I noticed the way the DJs do it, even at parties. The party be rocking, and it'll hit a certain point where, they playing more street records, then it'll slow down with more like funny records, and by the end of the night, they slow down with the slow jam and have something for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like just to add that feminine essence to it, and it always was a good way to smooth it and even everything out. You know what I mean? So in the same way, I would always put something for the ladies on every record. Whether it's a female MC or a song about women or a girl singing, it needs balance like that. I think everything needs that. What would we do without them, right? Right, ladies? What would we do without y'all? So that's where that came from. I said, all right, Stacey's a good friend of mine, and she was working on her stuff, and she was feeling one of the beats. So I said, yo, go ahead, do your thing, and it just fit perfectly on there.
Out of music that's currently going through at the moment, is there anybody that, you've worked with Tom York, for example. I think even read this morning Johnny Greenwood as well. I'd just be curious to know, out of up-and-coming producers, obviously the more established now, your Flying Lotuses, etc. Would there be anybody that you could call, that you'd like to call upon to do a record with, that is becoming quite influential upon stuff that you want to rap on?
I don't really listen to the current hip hop to the point where I know who is who to say, oh, I want a beat from this dude, or I would like to work with this cat. I usually hear something and then I'm like, yo, who did that? It works that way. Then I'll find producers like that. But if I had to say anybody, I'll say my man Kanye. He doing his thing. That's a good friend of mine too. So I ain't get a chance to really work with him yet. So I'm like, if I had to say a producer, something that people wouldn't really expect, I would say Kanye, yeah.
And last question, sorry. I always found something really refreshing, the fact that you used a lot of 80s samples from Bob Skaggs or Anita Baker. I found that really refreshing in your music. I was wondering, would that have been stuff that you listen to a lot in general? If you don't listen, obviously, to a lot of what's going on in present hip hop, which I totally understand because I personally think a lot of it's bullshit. But I'm just curious, is that, music that you listen to a lot in your spare time?
Yeah, that's the stuff I grew up on. That's stuff I still go back to that stuff. And, when I listen to these records, it's like the interesting records to me are records that's hard to decipher. Like, technically, like I've tried to figure out how they do that. What equipment did they use? It's different from now. The methods that they used to record with, you could tell also a lot of times you can't tell, what they used. Was it 2 inch? Was it quarter inch? How they do it? You know what I mean? So those are interesting sonically to me enough to stay in that realm, and then looking for records from that era that I still haven't heard. You know what I mean? Like records from like say like Brazilian stuff that still was recorded in that time. It's still new to me, you know what I mean? And it's still just as interesting, But that's where it comes from that. Like I'm still in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. I'm like stuck there kind of thing. But it's a lot of stuff there though that's still unfound. You know what I'm saying?
You and me both. Anyway, thanks.
Word.
Hi, I actually have two questions. First of the questions, I'm not sure if it was the reissue of Food that had the silver cover, and if you scratch it, it smelled like chocolate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Do you actually come up with the concept while you're making the music, or is it something that comes afterwards?
Well, the concept about the chocolate thing, actually, my partner from the label, Rhyme Sayers, my man Sadiq, he came up with that one just to celebrate the record. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. So really, that's how that came out. It came out after the record was out, and like it's almost like an add-on. From the food references like we spoke about earlier. That's like a reference he came up with that could make it interesting.
Yeah. Do you, when you're making the music, is it only an audio thing, or do you also sometimes have a visual aspect to it as well?
Well, yeah, I always have a visual. I always see it and I hear it. You know, just I always see things. A lot of us do too as artists. You can see it and hear it. Sounds have colors that accompany. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's always both audio and visual to me.
Definitely. And then my second question is, Rhinestone Cowboy is one of my favorite of your songs. What kind of made you do the record? I mean, did you feed off the beat, or did you have the concept in your mind already, or how did that happen?
Yeah, that's an interesting record. The way that came about, actually, the record was a little short, right? And uh, my man Egon, he was like, "Yo, Doom, I think we need one more song." The time he was up there at Stone's Throw, and he was like the A&R dude. So I was like, "Okay, I need one more song." All right, I had so many beats from Madlib. It's like I could do 20 records, like so many. So I went through them, picked the one the one that stood out the most to me. That was a hot beat. It stood out. It's like it wasn't tricky to rhyme to. So really, that song came out of just needing to fill the slot, real spontaneous. Like, okay, like I got like a week to turn the record in. Here you go, E. It's done. Like kind of thing. So that's how it came about. But this is one of my favorite records as well. So a lot of times when I'm under the gun like that, it tends to come up with that kind of thing. So yeah, I wrote it to the beat. You know what I mean? Just real quick, like crunch time, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great pick. Thank you.
Word, thanks.
Hey, do you ever find yourself out of ideas and how to work around that? And outside of music, where do you look for inspiration?
Yeah, a lot of times I find myself, writer's block. I get that all the time. It's part of the process. When that happens, I just tend to just leave it alone and do something else, and that's when I'll do something like I'll read or like I get inspiration from a lot of different things though, like nature, silence. A lot of times, just playing with my children. Things that people probably do every day. Some people might take for granted. Little things. The smallest thing will inspire something. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, when I get stuck, I just go back to normal mode, and then that's where you find things will come to you. You know what I'm saying? You know when to pick up just have a pen and a piece of paper handy. Because it'll come to you. You never know when it'll come to you. You know what I mean?
So you don't just stand there and force it to come, like, just wait for it.
Lord knows I tried. I tried. You know what I'm saying? But there's no way. The way the creativity works for me. It comes to you like it's an energy stream or something. Like it comes like in waves kind of thing. So you just gotta be ready for the wave when it comes. And when it subsides and go back, that's when you step back for a second and there's no way to really make it happen. You just gotta be ready.
Thank you.
You haven't spoken much about Grimm yet, so can you tell us how you guys met, the nature of your relationship, and maybe why things went sour?
Yeah, no doubt. I wouldn't say they went sour, but I would say like, all right, we met the same time, around the same time with when I met Bob. Like it's the same crew, you know what I'm saying? All from uptown. I met Curious it's around the same time too, and we all were like in the game somewhere. I met George up there. He was working up at Def Jam with Bob, and then Grim was doing demos and he was like winning battles around the same time. But everybody's from uptown, so I used to just be uptown, with these dudes I wouldn't say it went sour. It's just that relationships tend to split. Like I don't see the same people that you used to see every day. You know what I mean? Still my peoples. I got mad love for all my brothers. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's how I go. That's how it went.
Cool. Got another question about Pebbles, the Invisible Girl. She did the hook on Doomsday and then on the mic.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of her since then or on any other records.
Yep.
Did she write those hooks?
She's
Like
the
those were,
Invisible Girl. That's
yeah,
why.
like, man,
Those
hooks changed my life, man. It's
Nah,
like
you
great.
know what it is? She was the kind of singer that, all right, my man knew a girl who could sing. And again, I had to finish the record. So I'm like, yo, you got a girl who can sing? Yo, ask her could she sing this part? And I'll write it or play a reference. And she's like, all right, I can sing it. I paid her like $25 or something. That's like as a session singer to come in and do it. And I don't know what she's doing now. I haven't seen her ever again. I don't think I even know her real name. It's kind of, but yeah, she
You should
rocked.
be able to find it then,
Probably, maybe.
Who's next?
You said that your characters have conflicts. Have you ever thought about making a record with the different characters battling it out?
Yeah, there was like matter of fact, it's a little rap beef starting right now with Vic and Doom. Vic is kind of plotting on him. I think he getting a little jealous because Doom's getting shine. Like so Vic is gonna come. Well, he's talking about coming out with it like a diss record. So it's gonna be a point where just to make a kind of like a mockery or kind of like a spoof from the the hip hop rivalries that go on. So Vic is gonna come. He's gonna come hard with some shit. You know what I mean?
Nice. Thanks.
Is Doom ready to respond?
I don't know. We gotta see. He's nice though. I mean, I wouldn't go up against him. We shall see.
Actually, I think this is where we're gonna have to wrap it. But you have anything you want to say to these young, impressionable minds in conclusion?
Yeah, you know what I would say? Follow your heart. There's number one rule. Follow your heart. Like, a lot of people might not see your vision yet. You know what I mean? People might call you crazy or think it won't make sense. Follow your heart and just follow it all the way through. And that's when you'll see you making new ground and people will appreciate it later on. You know what I mean? Never try to do something to impress the next man, you know what I mean, or the next woman. Like, it's really about what you see and, what you have inside. Everybody's unique individual here. You know what I mean? So you have something to contribute. So whatever it is, follow that and bring it out and share at the table with all of us, you know what I mean? And I also have to say, like, just thanks for all y'all support. You know what I mean? It's people like y'all that have me continue to do it and see I see it as valuable when when you guys show appreciation. I'm like, wow, somebody out there actually listening and know what my crazy ass is thinking about. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. I have to say thank you guys.
Well, let's say thanks to MF Doom, everybody.